Well, a very good evening to you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You joined with me, Ollie Ordis, here for the Dutch First Division Match Week 2 fixture between Excelsior and PSV. Played out here in Rotterdam. Of course, Excelsior got off to an exceptional start in their 4-0 win against Cambuur. As for PSV, their season started not too well. It was a 2-2 draw to Sittard, which was a better result than their last one, where they lost 4-0 to AZ Alkmaar in the Johan Cruyff Shield final. Joey Veerman got sent off 9 minutes in, so he was suspended in the last game. He finds himself out in the starting lineup after that suspension is over. So, we're looking forward to this one. Match isn't starting too soon from now. 3 minutes till kick-off. I'll go through the team lineups now. So we'll start with Excelsior, coached by, of course, Ruben den Uyl. In goal is Stijn van Gestel. And, of course, it's 3 changes made since their win against Cambuur. Still in the side is Rick Muyssen with Jan Plug in the heart of defence. Simon Jansen as well with the other defender, Casper Weidel, who comes in after being injured last week. In midfield is, of course, Daniel van Vienen, Lennard Hetjes, Irakli Yegoyan, David Garden, Ayman Sliti and Ilano Silva Timas. As for PSV, coached by Peter Bosz, in goal is Matej Kovar. In front of him is, of course, Ryan Flamingo, Armando Obispo, Mauro Jr. and back in the side after being suspended in the last game, Sergino Dest. Ivan Perisic is still playing as well with Paul Varner, Gus Till, Ruben van Bommel, Ricardo Pepi and, of course, back in the side, Joey Veerman. So kick-off not too long to go now. I'll just go over the other results, of course, in the Eredivisie, or the Dutch First League even. How is that landing out? So AZ Alkmaar currently in top position. They've started the season off extremely well. Of course, they're 3-0 up away to their opponent this evening in Utrecht. And as for the other games today, in the Dutch First Division, Nijmegen beat Willem 4-1. So they won by a victory of 3 goals there. So 1 minute to go till kick-off. Thank you for joining me, everyone, here in Rotterdam for Excelsior taking on PSV. Of course, going into another season at the helm, Ruben den Uyl just coming out now from the dugout. Of course, what's so interesting about den Uyl, and I reckon we'll see a lot more of this in the future and in the coming years, given the attractiveness of being a head coach now, is the fact that he never actually played a senior game of football. He never played football. He, in fact, went down the studying route where he got his sports management and entrepreneurship degree, and after that he got a diploma in coaching. So he's up against a man who's got plenty of experience, 62-year-old Peter Bosz, who came in last season as an interim coach. He's still the head coach for PSV. And if you're just joining us, I will go over the teams once again. So in goal for Excelsior is Van Gestel with Rick Muyssen, Jan Plug, Simon Jansen, Daniel van Vienen, Lennard Hetjes, Irakli Yegoyan, David Garden, Casper Weidel, the captain, Ayman Sliti and Ilano Silva Timas. As for PSV, it's Matej Kovar, Ryan Flamingo, Armando Obispo, Mauro Jr., Ivan Perisic, Paul Varner, Gus Till, Ruben van Bommel, Ricardo Pepi, Sergino Dest, and of course Joey Veerman. So we are kicked off now in the Excelsior Stadium. Of course, it only seats 4,700, and it's Excelsior on the attack as they burst into the box. They look to try and get a second touch, but it's PSV who managed to get the touch to take it away from Excelsior, but not for too long, as it's the Georgian on the ball, Irakli Yegoyan, who just tidies things up over on that far right side. So, of course, Excelsior now playing from right to left in their red kit, red shorts, black socks, and, of course, their red and black striped shirt. PSV in all white. as Excelsior get the ball down the left-hand side. They try to send it long. They do find a player on the left as they send in a dangerous ball, but it was just over the head of David Garden, who looked to attack it, and the ball goes goalwards again, but it's off target. That final touch coming from Yagoyan, but it was an attacking show of intent there as Daniel van Vienen found himself sprinting for the ball. 5 yards in from the byline, scooped in a ball deep down on this left-hand side. David Garden was around the penalty spot, but it just was over him. And just before that, Excelsior looked to get on the attack. Of course, they had a brilliant pre-season. They won every single game, scored 17 goals too. And Peter Bosz said in his pre-match words that Excelsior know how to find the back of the net, and they'll come at PSV in this game. And so far in the opening 2 minutes, they have already with 2 attacks that haven't come to anything. Still 0-0 as Ruben Den Uyl is there on the touchline, looking smart with his slick back hair and his black suit and a white shirt. As PSV on the ball as they look to try and have their first real bit of possession, as Excelsior have been the team who have really dominated so far. That long ball over towards that left-hand side. It's deep in the PSV half as they look to try and play it out towards their left-back. That's a nice little 1-2 between Mauro Jr. and Veerman, but they can't quite get the ball down the left-hand side as it goes out of play. So it will be an Excelsior throw-in, as time will tell if they can break down PSV early on in this fixture. Oh, that's a poor long ball forward as PSV pounce onto it as they're getting players into the box. First attack for PSV. Nice little dummy there as they look to try and make something happen. It's a strike that goes well over. And it's the number 9, Ricardo Pepi, who is unable to get his shooting boots on there. Perhaps just wanting to line one up early doors to try and get used to finding the target and to try and working an angle, which he will hope will prove to be successful. Goal kick though for Excelsior. 3 minutes on the clock, still no goals, but a couple of attacks now with the long ball forward from the goalkeeper Van Gasol. PSV on the back foot once again as their left back for Excelsior, Van Vienen, sprints over towards this left-hand side. It's held up by Simon Janssen. Now back towards their number 20, Leonard Hartjes, in the centre circle. Down on this left-hand side now is Plug, who picks up the ball. He sort of signals to his players to come short, but instead he doesn't find the right option, so he plays it back to his goalkeeper, who has one mission, and that's to lump it forward. Finds the ball in the attacking half for Excelsior. Just goes into their defensive one now as they look to try and squeeze the ball through a tight area, but PSV managed to get the better of them there as they play it back to their right back in Sergino Dest. Here's now their number 6, Ryan Flamingo, who of course scored a goal last week in the 2-2 draw against Sittard. I hope he will get his shooting boots on today. Flamingo again, just outside the centre circle, but still in their own half. Back to their centre half in Armando Obispo. And you can see that PSV, 4 minutes in, are looking to just sort of pass it round, get a feel of the ball in their second match week. As Excelsior really came out of the... on the races. Flamingo playing it back to Matej Kovar, of course signed permanently from Bayer Leverkusen after he was at PSV from that club on loan last season. That's a brilliant ball threaded through as they've got a chance, but it's a heroic bit of defending. It's not over yet as PSV have a chance, and that's how clinical they can be. But Ruben van Bommel is offside, and we thought that there could have been a goal in the first 5 minutes as they look to the assistant referee on this near side. They're celebrating the goal, high fives all round, but was he offside? Certainly not. So it will be 1-0 PSV. The player keeping Ruben van Bommel on is the left back Simon Janssen, and Van Bommel with a tidy finish from the left side of the penalty area, but it was Joey Veerman who threaded that beautiful pass through straight down the middle of the Excelsior organisation, and then Van Bommel picking up the ball with his right foot, stroking it low and into the back of the net. Just before he actually got the ball, though, it was a brilliant bit of defending. I believe it was from Rick Meissen, who managed to slide in on the player that was through in Paul Varner. And when he did slide through, the ball then ricocheted towards Van Bommel kindly. And he certainly punished Excelsior for that. A good start here for PSV as they were under some pressure, but that was only the first couple of minutes. And now they will want to try and impose their authority. And what an authoritative figure they are. 3 Dutch top-flight leagues in a row as they look to make it 4. And of course, Peter Bos highlighted the fact that they don't want to drop more points early on and find themselves in an awkward position. Of course, there's still so much of the season left to go, pretty much all of it. So you still can take these early results with a pinch of salt, but given their dominance last season, you'd imagine them to really start to get the afterburners on following this current lead they find themselves in. 6.5 minutes gone, and it's the goalkeeper Stijn van Gassel that sends another ball forward. It's now tapped over towards the right side of the Excelsior play as they look to try and get it down their right-hand side. It's now picked up by Eamon Sleety, who looks to try and make something happen. Instead, he plays it back to one of his central midfielders. Now it's back with the number 14, Jan Plug, who, of course, is another new signing. The 14 on the back, centre-half from Feyenoord on loan. Here he is on the ball once again, picking it up in the centre circle. Just 2 players back for Excelsior now. The majority of players are actually in the attacking half for Excelsior as they look to try and send another ball long over towards that right-hand side for Irakli Yagoyan to try and make something happen, but he's dispossessed by Obispo, so it will be another throw-in for Excelsior. Over on that far side, about 30 yards away from the byline, and they're already showing their intent with this throw as multiple defenders are going up into the box to attack this throw. They can't quite find a head. Instead, it's headed away by PSV, but straight over on that far side again. And this time, Excelsior have another throw, but this time closer towards the byline. So they're managing to get a little bit deeper, albeit not by the most conventional of ways. The throw-in goes in towards the box. It's towards the right side of the box, and able to gain really any distance, and that's sort of a waste of a throw when you're getting all those players into the box, in towards that middle part of the 6-yard area. If you're just throwing it in towards that forward side of the box from that perspective on the far side, it's a massive waste. But they're not going to try and waste this effort. It's a lovely whipped-in ball. David Garden ended up being in a really good position, tried to head it over towards that far corner, but instead it ended up being another pass, which was picked up right on the byline by Yagoyan. But Excelsior find the ball back midway into their attacking half. Here is Janssen. Plays it all the way back to the goalkeeper, who's outside of his box for now, and now his 2 centre-halves come either side of him to provide an option, but he's still got 2 white shirts ahead of him that look to just try and close in on him, specifically Pepe, who's putting pressure, but Excelsior deal with that for the time being as they manage to just play it back to their centre-half with more safe possession just outside their area. Janssen just coming in short for Plug, but instead he plays it back to Van Gassel. Still with the ball as PSV are just reluctant to press in this moment, as they know the goalkeeper will like to get the ball and try and pull them in to then send a ball into some space. Once again, though, another long ball is intercepted by PSV, and that long ball from PSV is unable to find their number 20 in Gus Till, who's just playing off Ricardo Pepe so far. So just under 10 minutes on the clock, and Excelsior a goal down through Ruben van Bommel, who gets his first goal of the season. Here come PSV as they're dispossessed by Excelsior over on that right hand side, just edged towards Yagoyan. He is put under some pressure in his own half, so his goalkeeper's his only outcome. A little 1-2 between Yagoyan and the goalkeeper, as Yagoyan will play it to Jan Plug, just outside the area once again, as he now gets drawn back towards his byline, and that's an awkward pass back to Plug. And that's an almost poor pass. He then sent it diagonally over towards the edge of the 6-yard area. Well, not the 6-yard area, the D. And it really invited some pressure from PSV. But Excelsior managed to still be relieved of that slight potential mistake. Here is Van Gassel once again. Seen a lot of the ball so far. I feel like it may be a case of that where Excelsior will want to try and find the gaps in midfield, but when they don't, and PSV are showing their robust organised structure, which they have done in the opening 10 minutes, it means that the goalkeeper will often find himself on the ball a lot with his two centre-halves as well, as they look for an opening to try and invite the PSV press. We've now got Gus Till closing in on the centre-half for Excelsior, but instead they found it out on that right-hand side, just trying to keep it down. Here they go. Another long ball from the goalkeeper up towards the number 4 in Kasper Weidel, who of course is back in the side after being a substitute last weekend. Finds himself with the captain's armband as well. Here is Plug once again, trying to play the forward ball, but instead Ayman Sleety just feeds it back to Plug. Once again the goalkeeper on the ball, just outside of his D, inviting pressure in from Gus Till, and when Till gets within a yard, he sends it over towards that right-hand side. Another long ball up towards the Excelsior attack, but they can't quite keep the second ball down, and when they head it back from David Garden, it goes back to a white shirt, and PSV look to just regain the ball. And now Dest, still in his own half, looks to play it over towards this right-hand side with Perisic. Looks to potentially be a back three, not really too sure. I think maybe Perisic is playing more forward. Of course, he was playing as a fullback last week when he covered Dest following a suspension. And now he's further up the field with Dest just behind him. But of course, two very attacking-minded fullbacks. Both really can play wing as well. Here is Dest driving forward into the right half space. Now Perisic looks to whip one in with his left on the right. Almost finds a player towards the far side of the 6-yard box. It's now picked up by the number 7 for Excelsior in Sleety. Still with the ball. Sends another one forward up towards that halfway line. Sprinting onto it is David Garden, but there's just too much on for Garden to try and keep. And PSV will take another throw in their own half. Here is Veerman once again. And what a role he played in the goal for PSV. That brilliant pass which just cut open Excelsior like a knife through butter. Now Gus Till, as they look to bring the ball in their attacking half, but they send it back to Flamingo. Here's Obispo now. You can see the two Excelsior strikers closing in on the defence. But they're managing to play through them well. Not there, though, as Excelsior win it back in their own half. Another ball over the top from their centre-half, trying to find the number 7, Ayman Sleety. Of course, there's another new signing, signed from Feyenoord in the summer. He makes his first start for Excelsior in the league after he came on as a substitute against Camber last season. Here's a chance, though, just outside the area. It's a nice layoff towards the number 8, but he can't quite sort out his footing, and PSV managed to win it back in their own penalty area. Here's Veerman, sending it over towards their number 20 over on that far side. Gus Till just doing some defensive work as he now goes further up the field, and PSV look to just try and get out of their penalty area after that promising attack from Excelsior. They just couldn't find the quality to break down PSV. Back with the PSV goalkeeper in Kovar. Now Mauro Jr. looking to sprint forward as he lays a ball off to Veerman, who tries to play the return pass to Mauro Jr., but he was brought down. Mauro Jr., the captain this afternoon, or this evening now. 15 minutes gone. PSV in the lead by 1 goal. And the goal scored by Ruben van Bommel, the 22-year-old. Found the ball at his feet on the left side of the penalty area. Stroked it underneath the goalkeeper into the back of the Excelsior net. Play resumes as Plug sends it over towards his centre-half. Ball currently over on that far right side, but midway into their defensive half for Excelsior as they look to get it towards that halfway line point once again, as Garden looks to hold it up and he threads a lovely ball over the top. That's not the best touch, though, from their number 21. Couldn't keep it down. Elano Silva Timas. When it came over to him, he touched it and then it sort of hit his ankle awkwardly and then just allowed Perisic to win it back in the defensive half for PSV. Here's Veerman, just being challenged in his own penalty area, manages to turn around the Excelsior attacker, and now PSV look to make an attack of their own. Nice link up between Perisic and Gus Till. Tricky footwork shown from Dest as he bursts into the right half space. Back out towards that right hand side as the ball's just outside the penalty area. Now they send it more central towards Veerman, but it's a poor pass as he looks to try and thread the pass to Gus Till, who was out on that right hand side. He was aiming for that diagonal run into the box, but it couldn't quite keep him in play, and it's a clearance from Excelsior. PSV back with the ball though, as they are able to just win back these second balls. That's sort of been the issue so far. When you're playing this long ball game from Excelsior, you've got to ensure that you're going to win the second balls, and so far they haven't really been too promising at that. Now Flamingo, just outside the centre circle. Veerman linking up with Dest as he looks to turn around Sleety. Tries to play the pass over towards Gus Till on this right-hand side, and it just takes a touch off of Silva Timas. So Perisic will take the throw on this right-hand side in this attacking half, and once again it's Veerman who sends a ball with his left foot towards Obispo. Back to Veerman, who hasn't got much pressure on him as he's just in his defensive half, so he sends it over towards Dest with the short pass. Dest from a deep angle on this right-hand side, whips in a ball, doesn't quite find a player that he was looking for. It's cleared away by Excelsior from the number 14, Jan Plug. Just 21 years of age. One thing that's noticeable about this Excelsior side is not a single player, outfield player, who's starting is over the age of 23. So a very young side with a very young coach. Of course, the 35-year-old Ruben Denoyle. As for PSV, of course, they've got a 37-year-old on the pitch. So stark contrast in age groups between PSV and Excelsior. On the ball now is Matej Kovar. Hasn't got any pressure onto him, but Garden just slightly closes in. Still had about 10 yards away from the goalkeeper, though. Back to Kovar once more. Over on that left-hand side is Obispo, spreading out the players. He sends a ball long, but it comes off the head of Rick Meissen. And it will be a PSV throw. 18 minutes on the clock now. Here's Veerman. Playing it in towards that left half space. Back to Flamingos, just occupying the anchor role in defence as he's the furthest back, and he's still in the centre circle, which kind of paints the picture of how attacking PSV are being right now. It's a whipped-in ball from a deep position on the pitch. Does find its way into the penalty area, but can't quite find a PSV head. PSV still in possession, though. Further back, though, in their attacking half. But the referee calls for a foul on the number 10. For PSV, I think it was actually Gus Till who went down, and what happened there was he tried heading the ball away. It was from a low position, so he sort of had to bring his head down. It was Paul Varner, the number 10, who sort of ducked down to head it away, and in doing so, fortunately he didn't get a boot to the head, but he just got clipped there from Rick Meissen, who is of course another centre half in his second season at Excelsior. Signed from their rival, Sparta Rotterdam. Of course, in the stands is Kueb Druesh. 12 goals last season. Not featuring due to his uncertainty about his future at PSV. Matej Kovar now with the ball in his hands. In his penalty area, just closed in from Garden, but he manages to pull off a 5-yard pass to Obispo. That's nicely chested down the left-hand side, but can't find the intended white shirt. Here is Excelsior now with Yagoyan in the centre of the park. Back to Van Gassal. Sends another long ball forward. It feels like that's their only game plan right now for Excelsior. They could have got a chance, and it was just headed towards Silva Timas, who was just trying to burst into the box, but the header was a bit too strong for Silva Timas to try and get hold of. It was the number 7, Ayman Sleety, who tried to improvise there as the long ball came forward. Garden managed to get control, but then it sort of just ricocheted away from him, and then when the ball was in the air, it was headed forward towards Silva Timas, but it couldn't find the striker who's back in the squad. after being on the bench last week. So it will be a PSV free kick, just about 3 yards into their own half. And it's Veerman with the ball as he plays it over towards the Curaçao international Obispo, who played in every game in Curaçao's World Cup campaign, in their memorable first ever World Cup campaign. Now Dest, there's a sloppy touch though, as he tried to collect the ball on his left and then shifted onto his right, but in doing so he was so wide out, the heavy touch meant that the ball went out of play, and Excelsior have a throw midway into their defensive half on this near side. Halfway through the first half, and it's still Excelsior 0, PSV 1. Silva Timas manages to edge it over towards Ugoyan, who's in a central position. He sends it over towards that right-hand side. It's whipped into the area. It was a low ball, comes off the right foot of Obispo, and then it's chased over between Mauro Jr. and the number 7, Eamon Sleety. It's Excelsior, though, who win the throw, and it's in their attacking half. They'll hope for a better throw this time as they send more defenders into the box. One of those players is, of course, Daniel van Vienen. So a ball or a throw-in towards that front side of the penalty area from their perspective. Doesn't make the most of that once again, which will frustrate Van Gooyen. Long ball play from Van Gasol. Over towards that right-hand side. It looks like a decent picture here as they've got 4 players in the box, Excelsior, but it's back to their centre half. It's whipped in again, headed away by Obispo. Not much is getting past him so far. That's a blocked cross on 2 occasions now in the last 2 minutes. So he's managing to meet their attacking fairly well. But it's over on that right-hand side for Excelsior once again. Playing it back to their centre halves as they can't quite find the forward pass just yet. Janssen linking up down the left-hand side, but he sprints forward down the left half space. And now they could have a chance as they burst forward in towards the box. Garden just needs to sort out his footing, but that's good defending there as the PSV win it back. Silva Timas looked favoured to get it, but the tenacious sprinting there from the PSV defender to get there before Silva Timas could meant that Excelsior's attack is short-lived. Here's Janssen curving a long ball in the air down the left-hand side. It's chased down by their number 6, Van Vienen. He can't pass it back though. Well, he tried to pass it back at least, but instead it just went out of play. So a PSV throw as Van Vienen doesn't look best pleased with his performance in that moment. So throw in to be taken by Dest on this near side. It's back to Matej Kovar as Garden tries to get closer to him, but Kovar's able to just play it towards Obispo once again. That's a sloppy back heel from PSV as Excelsior win it high up the pitch, but that's brilliant work to win it back straight away. The player who gave it away was Ruben van Bommel, and then he won it back in stylish fashion. Just not giving Excelsior a chance to really have any space when they try and get forward, especially when PSV make a mistake. The way they're able to undo that mistake was respectable there. Here comes Ugoyan sprinting down the right-hand side. Sliding into him was Ruben van Bommel. He doesn't think he fouled the player, or I think he thinks it came off. Well, he thought he got fouled there before in the build-up. And Ugoyan was fouled, but Van Bommel thought that it was a fair challenge. Now Van Gasol, another clipped ball, unable to leave the defensive half, but dropping deep was Ugoyan, who just plays it back to the right centre half for Excelsior. Here is Van Vienen once again. But Perisic coming into a central midfield position to nip the ball off Silva Timas as he plays it back to Obispo. Here is Obispo. Now the number 10 in Paul Varner. Over towards Mauro Jr. Now Obispo. Just passing it around at their own tempo, PSV. Veerman, who's just dropping between both centre halves, as he often does. Here's Flamingo. Excelsior just pressing in various moments. They try to regain the ball, but it's a foul committed from Ilano Silva-Timas, who doesn't think he fouled Dest, but the referee believes he did, and PSV will have a free kick. So 26 minutes on the clock. Excelsior have had some occasions where they've got the ball in dangerous areas, but in the last couple of those, it's mainly been down to a PSV mistake where they've been able to tidy up that mistake fairly easily. Another thing that will frustrate them is the fact that they just haven't been able to make the most of those throw-ins either. Both times unable to really throw it deep into the centre of the penalty area, which is where they've aimed it for, or would have aimed it for, given that they would have had a lot of their taller players occupying that centre of the penalty area. So just taking time for this free kick. It's going to be a throw in the end. Now Flamingo has the ball played to him as he plays it back to Kovar. Garden sprinting towards the right-hand side of Kovar as he looks to open it up on his left. Of course, Garden was just trying to block off that right channel for Kovar, but he was able to have some success playing it short towards his left. Here is Jan Plug sending it over towards that right-hand side to Ugoyan. Garden just stretching out his leg as he lunges out to try and keep the ball, and he does that well. Good improvisation there from the striker. Now they're just trying to slow it down. The ball currently in their attacking half, and pretty much every outfield player is in the Excelsior attacking half as we speak. Janssen, their fullback, just playing it back to Plug. Here is Meissen. Now Van Gasol. Another long ball in the air, down towards that left-hand side. Perisic just nods it back to Dest, back to Perisic, back to Dest. Lovely play between the two players down this right-hand side, but Veerman just couldn't find a player forward, and Excelsior win it back. Here is Silva-Timas. Looks to try and play a clipped ball towards the edge of the penalty area, but it's headed away by Obispo once again, who's had a strong performance in the opening half hour here. 28 minutes really on the clock, and it's still PSV in the lead by a 1-goal margin. Here's Kovar, another long ball as Garden closes in, but it's headed away by the number 4 in Kasper Weidel. That is a loose header, and PSV win it back in the middle of the park. Now Dest down this right-hand side. Another forward pass towards Perisic, who links up nicely with Dest, but Dest just couldn't keep it under his spell, and now it's one back. And here they come again, Excelsior, as they look to try and play through the middle, and there is some space in between this midfield and defence. It's a good picture here for Excelsior, but a lot of white shirts getting back for PSV. Good hold-up play from Ugoyan, who's just waiting for the right pass. He plays it towards Silva-Timas, who just couldn't quite sort out his footing. They do get a corner, but that was the best Excelsior have looked so far at being able to cut through this PSV structure. And it's still 1-0, but they have their first corner of the game. Over on this near side. Well, their throw-ins haven't been particularly successful, but they'll try and ensure their corners are, but it's headed away by a PSV player from the outswinger. Picked up on the midway point of their attacking half. Here's Janssen threading in another ball. It's a good ball in, but once again a PSV header is there, and they've just had that defensive quality over this Excelsior attack in the first third of this evening's game. Another forward pass back out towards Janssen. Plays it over towards the number 20 in Lennart Hartjes. He looks to try and clip a ball over the top, but he's unable to find another player, and PSV win it back. But Excelsior are being able to regain the ball fairly quickly after they give it away, which will give them some hope in trying to gather some momentum for an attack. Here is their number 14 in Plug. To just glide with the ball. That's a loose pass though, and Excelsior lose it out, and PSV look to try and get the ball up the pitch. It's Veerman as he sends it over towards that left-hand side. I mean, there were only about 4 attacking players forward for PSV, but that's a brilliant ball from Veerman down the left-hand side. They look to try and clip it beyond the goal, and it's a deflection back into the gloves of Van Gasol. It was a good picture there for PSV, but as I was just saying, when they did win the ball back then, before that attack, they only had really 2 strikers up the field. The majority of their players were, of course, pushed back from that Excelsior pressure over that 5 minutes. Here's Janssen, though, as play just stretches out again back into its usual formation. Now one-on-one is Silva Timas against Dest as Perisic goes in to help out, but Silva Timas manages to make up enough room to pass it back to his left back in Simon Janssen. Here is Plug across the ground towards Meissen. Forward pass in towards the number 8, Yagoyan. Over towards their right back. This is nice play. Yagoyan picking it up from a tight position. Nice footwork, but he couldn't work the pass. And it's won back by Mauro Jr. Flamingo. Now Dest. Just in this right half space position. Shifting over towards the centre halves. With Perisic providing the width on this right-hand side. It's back with Kovar. Forward pass into the midfield for Dest to pick up. Over towards Flamingo, who's just stretched out towards this right-hand side. Now Perisic coming in to help out. But his pass in towards Dest is an awkward one, as Dest and Perisic sort of in a miscommunication bit there, as they both ran into each other and actually had a slight push at one another to try and protect themselves from really clattering into each other. But wasn't the smartest bit of play, and Excelsior will have a throw. But talking of smart play, it's Veerman who's been the smart man in this game so far. The 2 forward passes have really caused Excelsior problems. Throw long from PSV. Excelsior win it back. Plug just clips it forward, but it's a poor pass as Dest pounces onto it. Tricky footwork as he looks to then do the no-look pass. That was nice there from Dest. Here's Perisic, looks to whip one in. He actually plays a firm ball across the ground with his right. It comes back out to him on his left. He whips it in. It was a troubling ball and it was headed beyond the byline from the number 20, Hartius. So it will be a corner kick for PSV, their first corner of the afternoon. 33 minutes gone on the clock, and they look to try and make it 2 goals now from this corner kick. As Excelsior have just managed to grow into the game better in the last 10 minutes. Just looking a bit smarter on the ball and playing the ball across the ground rather than just lumping it in the air, hoping that they can win some second balls. They knew that wasn't working, but here's PSV to try and nod it in. It's punched away from the goalkeeper, who comes well off his line. He's back on his line now. The ball over towards that left-hand side, whipped in again, headed away by an Excelsior head. Yagoyan was the player. It's picked up by the other number 8 on the pitch, and Dest. Over towards that left-hand side, it's a deep delivery, in towards that back post, headed across goal, and it's headed beyond goal from the number 4, Kesper Vidal. Another corner kick for PSV, as they're looking promising from these wide areas with these balls whipped in, and Excelsior are having to do the hard yards now. Another corner kick for the away side. This time it's on this near side. Bispo in there, as is Flamingo, who of course found himself on the score sheet last weekend. Can he do the same this? Whipped in with the left boot of Perisic, punched away by the goalkeeper, right in his goal mouth as well. Didn't really require him to come out of his line. He was able to just punch it away from his line. Here's Warner. Over on this right-hand side. Now Dest. And he's pulled his hamstring. You can tell that. The way he just pulled his leg up. But he's still walking around. I'm unsure what he did there, because the second the ball came to him, he sort of jolted upright. And I think it was actually the boot, the studs of the number 15, Janssen, who just clipped his player there in Dest. And that's why he just sort of gingerly pulled his leg up, which made it look like it could have been a hamstring injury. And thankfully for Dest, it isn't, as that would be a disastrous way to start your campaign. 10 minutes of the first half to go. It's a free kick about 30 yards away from the byline. Over on this near right-hand side, it's whipped in, and it almost finds the back of the net, but it's a brilliant save to his left-hand side from Stijn van Gijsel. It's still alive here for PSV as they whip the ball back into the box, but it's headed away by Excelsior, and I thought the net was going to bulge. And when I saw the ball palmed away from the goalkeeper, I couldn't even get my words out right. It was that quick, and it was a superhero save, punched with his gloves tightly together. And the header was fairly central from Perisic, but it still required a dive from the goalkeeper. And it's a good save from the 29-year-old shot stopper. A corner kick on that far side. Right boot, it's another deep delivery. It finds a player, but it can't find. Been fairly successful if you discount the fact that they haven't scored a goal from these set pieces. But sending them deep to then be headed across has certainly caused Excelsior some problems. Ball now out on this right-hand side. Perisic laying it off to Dest. Keeps it in, whips it in right by the byline. It comes off another Excelsior head as PSV looks to try and keep it alive as they press this Excelsior midfield in their defensive half. Perisic back to Varner. Just curving it with his left boot over towards Obispo. Now Mauro Jr., lovely clipped chip ball in towards Van Bommel. This is a really nice move, but it was just that final pass outside the area. It was first time played in towards Varner, who found himself in an attacking position. Had he found the ball at his feet, he'd have had a one-on-one. But it would have required some first touch to keep control of that pass. That was clipped into him. Excelsior on the ball, but they have to kick it out. Unsure what for just yet. Oh, now I can see one of the players is down. The first time the player's gone down in the game, and it's Alano Silva Timas, the Cape Verde player. Didn't actually play for Cape Verde in the World Cup, but perhaps someone who'll be on their radar if he's successful in Europe. So 37 and a half minutes gone. Silva Timas is jogging, but I don't think he's going to come off. There's no substitution getting ready. It looked like he just wanted to speak with his manager, perhaps. But the referee's got his ball, or has got the ball in his right hand, and he just drops it for Plug to get us back underway. Plays it back to the goalkeeper. Plug just outside of his area. Two white shirts either side of Van Gijsel, who's able to then play a ball long up towards that far right side for Excelsior. But once again, they're unable to keep that long ball down, and PSV win it back. Here's Dest deep into his own half. Looks up, tries to play the forward pass. Perisic leaves it. Now picks it up as he's put under pressure from Plug, who comes out of position. PSV looks to try and make the most of that, but Excelsior win it back midway into their attacking half, trying to just win it back. Slightly scrappy as neither side can keep the ball, and Yangoyan, who goes for a long ranger, just fires it straight into the PSV body that was placed in front of him. And then that takes the sting out of the shot as it bobbles back to Van Gijsel in goal. The crowd getting louder in support of their side as they're starting to see some attacking intent. I suppose that's a bit disrespectful to say, as they've shown attacking intent throughout the match so far. But the fans perhaps feel like they need to play their part for Excelsior to get over the line and to get that goal against such a strong Dutch outfit. Here's Flamingo. Now Dest. Look to try and bring the ball deeper into their attacking half, but it's back to Veerman, who's just around the halfway line on this right side. Plays it over towards Mauro Jr., who's sort of sucked in towards that centre-back position in the centre circle. Pass forward from Flamingo as he's out of possession, and now Excelsior thread a ball over towards that right-hand side, but the attempt there from Yangoyan is unable to find the intended target of Sleety. So a throw in for PSV is the outcome as we almost head into the final 5 minutes of the first half. PSV still a goal up here as they look to thread a ball through from that left side, but it was good sliding, or a good sliding interception from the number 4, Kasper Weidel. Here's Flamingo. Now Dest trying to play it in field, and he does so in towards the number 20, Gustil. Here is Gustil. Now to Obispo. Veerman back, and now Obispo again. Mauro Jr. looking to just try and make a run to provide an attacking option for Veerman, who looks to try and clip a ball over towards that left-hand side from the centre circle. It's more good defending from Meissen, who heads it away. Flamingo in the centre circle once again. Down towards Dest in this attacking half. Dest just trying to weave his body around Silva Timas, but he slides in on Dest and wins the ball back. Janssen then is retreating as he looks to try and just send the ball forward on the turn. Instead, he clears it out of the parameters of the pitch, and it's another throw. And the head coach for Excelsior, Van Gossel, is getting extremely animated down there, out of his technical area. The blazer's off, so the heat's obviously rising. Plug with the ball forward, but it's straight into the gloves of Matej Kovar. 3.5 minutes to go of the first half. Still with stoppage time, but it's Van Bommel's goal that keeps PSV in the lead. Another forward pass for PSV down that left-hand side as they look to try and clip it back into the centre of the pitch. One of the players is down holding his right arm. The referee just coming over to lift him up with the arm that he's injured with. So I don't know whether the referee's just testing Lennart Hartjes, but he went down holding his arm after it was clattered into by the thigh of the number 17 for PSV, Mauro Jr. Here's Obispo. Back to Kovar. Down towards Dest on this near right side. Silva Timas pressing in on Dest. He's got to be careful here as it's only him and the goalkeeper back, and he's got Garden sprinting right towards him as he continues to head towards the goalkeeper, who finds himself with the ball at his feet. A long ball from Kovar meets the head of an Excelsior right back. It goes out of play once again, and it will be another throw-in. Here is Van Geisel. Comes out of his penalty area, sends a ball over towards that right-hand side. Another long ball forward, but they don't find another player. It's PSV who win it back. 43 on the clock. PSV will want to just sort of pass around Excelsior and see out this first half now. Dest. Down on this right-hand side is Perisic, who picks up the ball and just tried to keep it in, but it just trickled out of play, and it will be another throw taken from Janssen. To Plug. Dropping in to help out their defenders is the number 20, Hartjes. Over towards Plug. Down on this left-hand side is Plug once again, as Excelsior just having to pass it between the centre halves once again. The central midfielder manages to pick out a nice space there for Yagoyen to run forward as he brings it further in field. But he just shows a bit too much of the ball for PSV there, and now they look to come forward. Sprinting down the left-hand side is Van Bommel as he looks to try and play the pass in towards his colleague in field and then carry on the run for the 1-2, but they can't quite work that. Now they're working it down the right-hand side as it's crossed in. It can't find a PSV head after Gus Till tried to attempt the delivery there. But now here's a chance for Excelsior as they sprint forward. It's 3-on-3, but more PSV defenders are able to come in and help out. That's nice footwork, though, from Silva Timas. Yagoyen just tries to play that ball forward, and instead it's straight into one of the PSV players who are able to block that pass. Now Mauro Jr. That's one thing PSV have been very good at. When Excelsior have had some room, PSV have just completely swarmed in on them, and in that respect have been a cut above their opponents today. Here's Flamingo. Now Veerman. Dest on this right-hand side. It's going to be 1 minute added on here. Here's Obispo, just outside the centre circle. Garden just occupying the two centre-halves once again. Flamingo with the pass towards Till, who just comes back to help him out as Flamingo comes into a more midfield position. Now over towards this right-hand side as Flamingo, as Veerman just plays the ball with himself, goes over the right side and then changes his direction to send it out towards that left-hand side. Good game management there from Veerman, just slowing it down, making sure his team are still on the ball, and they've got a chance to whip it in from that left-hand side. Pepe tried the back heel, but instead he wasn't able to pull that one off. He feels the ball then went behind for a corner kick. He's got his right arm held up, looking animated at the referee, but it's a goal kick, and that's taken quickly. Headed away from Flamingo, though, after that long ball was sent upfield from Van Gasol. Here's Veerman. 5 seconds left. As PSV are on the attack, as Excelsior win it back. Could there be one last chance in this first half? The referee blows his whistle, and that will be that for the first half here at Excelsior. It's been a dominant display from PSV. It started off exciting for Excelsior as they managed to get the ball into some promising positions in the first couple of minutes. But 3 minutes after their flurry of attacks, Van Bommel's down the other end of the pitch, stroking down a low finish to beat the goalkeeper. And that will be the score at half-time. It's Excelsior 0, PSV 1. We'll be back in just under 15 minutes' time for the start of the second half. So, welcome back everyone for the start of the second half here at Excelsior Stadium as they take on PSV. Currently, PSV in the lead as they look to try and get their first win of the season, which they're 45 minutes away from. No substitutions made by Peter Bosz at half-time for his side. 2 substitutions made by Excelsior's Ruben Den Uyl. The players who come on are Osman Touré and, of course, Nolan Martins, who started last game, finds himself on the bench, or found himself on the bench today, so he's back in the lineup as we go into this second half. Of course, Nolan Martins, the defender, on loan at second tier D Greshap last season, where they came 4th and lost in the playoffs, so he's back in the top flight as he's in defence. The player that came off, or the players that came off, Elano Silva Timas, who didn't have the most impactful game. You could see that there's raw potential there in the 23-year-old, and you can see he's got some pace, but it just feels like he could be a bit clunky at times and not really able to make the impact that he would have desired. But it's 1 minute into the second half, and the referee has called for a free kick. So now, of course, Excelsior shooting from left to right. And now my view is looking to my right with this free kick to be taken by the number 8 in Irakli Yegoan. Deep on in towards this near side. It's a long ball and it's straight out of play. So not what he would have wanted, as he's unable to make the most of that free kick. So, of course, a lot of what we saw in the second half, long balls over the top, that weren't really working for Excelsior when they started to play, and they had a patch within the 30th minute for about 5-10 minutes where they were playing the ball on the ground, and they did look impactful. But, of course, when you're playing a team like PSV who are so strong with the ball 2 feet and on the ground, that they really sometimes feel that their only option is to go long. But there's a chance now in their final third, whipped in by the Excelsior winger, and number 17, unable to find someone though. It's headed away by PSV and sent back out towards the Excelsior left-hand side in their attacking half. So, as mentioned, 2 substitutions. The 2 players that came off were, of course, the number 7, Eamon Sleety, and, of course, Elano Silva Timas, replaced by the later signing, the new signing, Osman Touré from Bayer Leverkusen, and, of course, Nolan Martins as well to provide some attack down that right-hand side. PSV, though, some safe possession just outside of their box. Back to the goalkeeper in Kovar as he looks to play it forward in towards the central midfielder in Paul Varner. Veerman helping out and playing it out towards that right-hand side for Flamingo. Back to Dest as Veerman just goes into more attacking position, as does Carlos Gil. Now picked up by Uraklio. Here's number 3, Meissen. Back over towards their central midfielder and number 20 in Lennard Hartiers. Over on that left-hand side, it's whipped forward again, but once again it just goes through the PSV defence and back to Matej Kovar, just inside his area as Garden closes in, and Kovar picks it up right in front of him. Here's Flamingo. Over towards that right-hand side once again, as PSV look to just try and get warm up again in this second half. Obispo down this left-hand side, another long ball headed back towards the striker from the number 7, Van Bommel. Both sets of players believing that it should be their throw, but it goes in favour of PSV. And they clear it out, and Excelsior will now have a throw down on this right-hand side. Thrown forward down the right flank, headed away by a PSV head. So it will be another throw-in on this near side, taken by Rick Meissen. Here's the number 4. Over on that left-hand side is Janssen trying to play another line-splitting pass. It's the first time Toure has really got the afterburners on as he sprints towards the right-back, trying to put pressure on him. He then continues towards the goalkeeper, but PSV are able to play it from defence to goal. That's a sloppy back pass, but they managed to make the most of it as they sprint towards the byline. The back pass went straight towards the byline, and it looked like it was going to be passed out of play. But fortunately for PSV, they had the pace to make up for that mistake. Excelsior back with the ball in their possession now. Here they are just breaking into their attacking half with the number 8, Yagoyan. So he picks up the ball in that right half space, sends it over towards that left one. And the number 4 just playing it forward in Vidal. Over towards that left-hand side. PSV structured at the moment in their defence, not really allowing Excelsior another chance to try and play in a ball to one of their attackers, and Excelsior are forced all the way back into their own half as they've got their defenders just trotting back to try and provide support to the goalkeeper as they find themselves either side of him. The long ball from their left back doesn't find another player in black and red. Not the most successful from Jan Plug. Here's Obispo from the centre of defence, midway into his own half. Flamingo with another ball, a diagonal ball, trying to find the run of Van Bommel, but Van Bommel was nowhere near where the ball ended up being played towards. And it goes out for another goal kick. It's a short goal kick from Excelsior, and PSV almost had a chance to win it back in their attacking penalty area. But it finds itself back to Obispo, who plays it back to the goalkeeper, as Excelsior managed to scramble a quick getaway with the clearance. And that's almost a sloppy pass. Didn't have the most power on it for Flamingo, but he managed to get there before Osman Toure had a chance. Diagonal ball. This time it's more successful and finds Van Bommel, looking to try and control it. Maybe take it on his left. Instead he passes it infield with his right. That's a brilliant pass. Brilliant touch as well. And it almost found the back of the net. But an outstretched leg from Van Geisel was able to deny the brilliant effort from Sergino Dest, who found himself in such an attacking position. The best chance of the second half so far as Van Bommel found it towards Sergino Dest, and that first touch outside the area to take it around Kasper Vidal so well, and found himself on the left side of the penalty area, opened up his body to try and curl it into that corner, but the left leg of Van Geisel was stretched, and it remains PSV 1, Excelsior 0. Well, that would have been a brilliant start to the second half, and it would have been a very similar story as the first half began, where Excelsior had some chances, looking promising at getting the ball in attacking areas, and then PSV going up the other end of the pitch and scoring with their first chance. It's a clearance, though, from Flamingo, which means Excelsior have a throw-in on this near side, as they look to try and regain some sort of control. Down on this right-hand side then, it will be Rick Meissen. Once again, they're getting their defenders in the penalty area, about 20 yards out as Meissen throws it in. It's towards that near side of the penalty area, flicked back by the head of Plug, but it doesn't find a player in Excelsior colours. Excelsior still on the ball, but the play is much more stretched out now as PSV were able to clear their lines. Here is Yagoyan whipping in a ball from a left-sided position, and he finds the back of the net. And it's the number 4, Kasper Vidal, the captain, who's back in the starting lineup. And he's back with a goal, one apiece here. 54 minutes gone here in Rotterdam. And that's blown the roof off in front of this crowd of 4,700 people. Peter Bosz goes back to his chair to assess where it all went wrong. But it was the delivery from the Georgian, Irakli Yagoyan, that found the head of Kasper Vidal to then just nod it into that right side netting. Had the goalkeeper diving, but he was unable to prevent that one from going out. And it's one apiece here. Big goal for Excelsior. And after a controlling first-half performance, albeit Excelsior had their times where they looked like they could have posed a threat at PSV, the 3 consecutive time winners of this division find themselves with a scoreline that they do not need, with AZ Alkmaar giving them a lesson in the final before the season started, and then backing that up with 2 straight wins as well. It means PSV being on 2 points will see them very envious of the teams above them. But given their winning mentality, given their credentials, you'd think that they won't panic, but they'll need to turn it on at some point. PSV now playing out towards the far side. Of course, as well, when you're a winning side like PSV, going back to 1 apiece shouldn't really shake you too much. It's just a case of getting back on the attack and getting back in control. And it's Dest whipping in a ball, and that's exactly what they do. It's 2-1, and it's the American Ricardo Pepi that taps home from about 2 yards out following the Dest delivery. And Excelsior's jubilation is no more. 56 minutes on the clock, 2 goals in about 3 minutes here in Rotterdam. And PSV regain control that they had going into the second half. Excelsior 1, PSV 2. And that was a brilliant ball from Sergino Dest. The way he just poked it up in the air, it was so precise. And before that, the Perisic ball from about 20 yards away from Dest to just clip it up in with his left boot to find Dest, who then lobbed a ball into the penalty area. And Ricardo Pepi was there as he sprinted off, waggling his right finger in celebration into the corner of the stadium. And just as I was saying, that's what winners do. They don't get fazed when they find themselves no longer in a winning position. They go and put themselves in a winning position once again. And the way they were able to just get the ball up the pitch with such quick one-touch passing was exceptional. PSV trying to get an attack once again over on that right-hand side, just by the parameters of the pitch. The ball goes out, so it will be a throw, and it's an Excelsior throw with their centre-half. Here is Mason. Down on this right-hand side is Plug. Tries to thread a ball forward. Looks to be a substitution about to make way. And the player who's looking to come on is Kode Seno, who'll be returning after a brief spell in the hospital room. .58 minutes on the clock, and it's a throw-in for PSV. As the throw-in taker, Mauro Jr. throws it back to Veerman, who's in a centre-half position right now with Flamingo right in the middle. Here is Dest neatly passing it forward, and that's a lovely turn there from Gustil, who charges down the right-hand side, threads in a ball to Perisic, who just glides with the ball forward, tries to turn it around the number 20, Hartiers, and Excelsior win it back after Perisic found himself on the green grass. Wingeisen with the ball, sending another long ball forward, but it's intercepted by Dest, who just did a few kiki-ups together, or with himself even, just showing the confidence oozing from him now following that brilliant assist. A lovely threaded ball forward from Veerman once again over on that right-hand side as they look to send in a ball. Ricardo Pepi picks up the ball and pulls the trigger quickly just inside the area towards the right. That's a sloppy touchdown from Mauro Jr., which allows Excelsior to win it back midway into their own half. But once again, PSV just extinguish the Excelsior chance to try and have a bit of the ball themselves. Here's their number 7, Van Bommel. Now Varner. Back to Van Bommel. Once again, the Excelsior head coach in Doyle, incredibly animated, following where the ball goes with his movements. Flamingo over towards Dest, as he just had Garden around him, but Flamingo back with the ball just outside the area, pokes it back to the goalkeeper on the left side of the penalty area. Garden continuing his jog, and now Obispo opens up play as he just collects the ball on his left and brings it forward. Van Bommel just coming to help him out in towards that left back position, slotting next to Flamingo briefly as Obispo just trots back to his original position from the left hand side. Now Varner fed the ball by Mauro Jr. Flamingo again. Here's Varner in the centre circle. Now Veerman. Another pass forward, another brilliant pass forward. Dest that time couldn't quite pull off the first time ball as he tried to thread it in behind towards Pepe. It's intercepted. Now the goalkeeper for Excelsior will clear it forward. They're just trying to win the second ball now, PSV, to try and gain some control in that midfield. Slightly scrappy here from both sides, but PSV managed to regain the ball. Here is their number 8 in Dest. He looks up, just does a little fake pass and plays it across the ground to Veerman. Here's Mauro Jr., who's just coming into the centre circle. He's got Obispo towards his left-hand side. You see that happen a lot with Mauro Jr. as he comes into midfield. And here's Dest coming into midfield as well as he looks to try and thread a ball through. Instead, he tried to poke it in the air. But he poked it straight towards an Excelsior defender. Now Excelsior tried to make an attack. Here's their number 17, who's recently come onto the pitch, and Nolan Martins. But they can't keep the ball. 62 minutes on the clock, and it's Excelsior 1, PSV 2. Here's Mauro Jr. sprinting forward in a left midfield position. Well, a left side of central midfield position, that is. He is brought down, and just before we're about to kick things off again, there are 2 substitutions. Coming on is going to be, of course, back after injury, Kado Seno, and he's going to be joined with the number 37 and the Moroccan player Bouamdi. So Bouamdi on and Seno too, and they replace Van Bommel and Varner. So Van Bommel potentially has helped his side win. Of course, he's helped his side potentially win if they do get the 3 points, given that he did open up the scoring. So whipped ball in from the left-hand side for PSV after the pass was played from a central position over towards the left-hand side for their attack, and then it was whipped in, but it's back over on that far right side for PSV this time. They send it in. Here could be a chance for Bouamdi, who's just come on. They pull the trigger once again, and it's a P-roller of a strike, and it's right into the gloves of Van Gysel. Just looked to maybe get some joy there, but they couldn't quite find the space and time to tee up an effort. Headed away from the PSV defender in Dest, picked up by Flamingo in a midfield position. Over towards that right-hand side now. He's got Perisic helping him out in the right half space. Threads a lovely ball through to Pepe, who touched it down brilliantly. And when he touched it down, the ball sort of rolled up in the air. I don't know if he was intending that, but he tried to make the most of it as he then tried the half volley, but didn't get the connection he wanted, and he finds the ball straight at the goalkeeper. Ugoyan trying to play a pass forward. Bouamdi. Here's Flamingo. Now Dest. Dest just in the centre circle. Flamingo and Dest, the only 2 PSV players in their own half, as they now break into their attacking one. Obispo with the forward pass. Bouamdi with a lovely back heel. Here's a great chance for Seno. Just drags it wide and pulls the trigger and fires it straight into the leg of the defender in front of him. It will be a corner kick, but that was a promising move, and that was brilliant as well from the 2 substitutes. It was Bouamdi who had his back to goal, back-heeled it beyond the Excelsior defender. And both substitutes linking up there. It wasn't just a back heel, it was a back heel followed by a nutmeg as well. So already showing the skills and confidence he's got to try and unlock this Excelsior defence for a 3rd time. Corner kick on this near side will be an in-swinger. Finds itself towards the back post, but it's headed away from the number 14 plug. And it's headed beyond goal as well. So another Well, no, actually, it just crept in front of the corner flag. I thought it did go out for a corner, but instead it will be a throw-in. And it will be Perisic to take this throw. Just by the assistant referee now, just yards away from the corner flag on that far side. 25 minutes left to go. Swung in by Flamingo, but hits one of the Excelsior players who goes down there. I think it hit him straight in the face. An awkward one, to say the least. The player down is David Garden, the striker. And of course, found himself on the score sheet in the last game. It was a whip ball from Flamingo on that far side, and it clattered the face of Garden, who goes down holding his eyes. And I think he's going to have to be looked at here. So it's just giving a little chance for a break for both sides, as Excelsior will want to ensure their new signing from the third tier of quick boys in Holland is not injured so soon. And of course, given the fact that it was just a ball to head, you'd assume it's not something to rule him out for long, but I suppose with rules coming in, the concussion concerns as well, they'll want to ensure that their player is fit to carry on. Of course, last season, David Garden attracted attention from a team like Excelsior, scoring 10 goals in the third tier in Dutch football. And, of course, he had a great debut as well in their last game. Just now at a right angle, being helped up by his medical staff. Perisic just having some words with him as well, hopefully kind ones. And he just gives him a stroke on the head, which shows a magnitude of solidarity there. But David Garden will just have to walk off the pitch now, and I think he is going to have to make way, as we do have a substitution in and waiting. But we'll just get confirmation on who that player is. But David Garden does not look in a good way. He's holding his head. And I suppose you don't blame him after it's been rattled following the ball hitting him. He was about 2-3 yards away from the ball when it originally, or from Flamingo when he tried to whip in the delivery. And he would have put some force behind that Flamingo. He's a big fella. Here's Obispo now. Currently 10v9 on the pitch from an outfield perspective, of course. Excelsior a man down, as they'll want to just get the ball quickly out of play so that they can have a level playing field once again. But PSV are going to look to try and make the most of this as they've got the ball just outside the area. Here's Boamdi looking to maybe try and skill it, but instead he just plays the sensible pass. It's whipped in and it's fired low and just wide of the goal. And it was Mauro Jr. who was sensing a chance to get his first goal of the season, as he goes into his 10th year as a PSV player. Unable to just find the back of the net there, but it felt like it could have just crept in. So off is Garden, and on is the Dutch striker in Nesto Groen. Of course, signed from Feyenoord 2 years ago, going into his third season as an Excelsior player. Hasn't really had many minutes. He came on as a substitute last weekend, but apart from that, he hasn't played much for Excelsior, the youngster. So he'll be hoping this campaign he can stamp his authority on the team if he isn't to leave in the next couple of weeks, perhaps on loan for his development. Maybe Ruben Den Uyl sees him in his plans. Well, here's a chance for him to show what he can do. We've got just over 20 minutes to go as Mauro Jr. finds himself with the ball now. Chasing the ball on that far side after the switch is Flamingo. Here's Veerman, who's just coming next to his centre-half. He plays another line-splitting pass, or attempts to at least, but it's back with Excelsior. Back with the goalkeeper, who plays it straight towards his centre-half once again, although we have Perisic trying to block off that channel. Good pressure here from the substitutions that are almost making Excelsior, forcing them to make a mistake. But you can already see what Seno and Boamdi offer, especially coming on towards the latter stages of the game. The pressure that they give the goalkeeper and the centre halves when they play with the ball around their back line. They don't try to play the ball around their back line that time. They send the ball long instead. Picked up by Seno in midfield. Back to Flamingo. Here's Obispo. So we're now in the 70th minute mark. Still PSV leading by 2-1 here in Rotterdam. Obispo back to Flamingo. Just calming the tempo now, PSV. Happy to go at their own pace. Obispo sends the ball forward. Seno just trying to sort out his footing, but just can't quite keep the ball. And now Excelsior looks to try and come forward as one of the players is sprinting down the right, but instead they opt to go down the left-hand side. Here's Janssen trying to just touch the ball in front and try and whip in a ball, but it's wayward and high and behind the goal and out for a goal kick. Not a delivery they need right now when they're chasing the game at home. And the Frenchman's coming on. Or the Romanian, in fact. The Dennis Mann, 27-year-old, of course, comes on to replace Ivan Perisic. Of course, Dennis Mann signed from Parma last summer, so he's going into his second season as a PSV player. Found the back of the net 7 times last season with 7 assists. A modest 14 goal contributions in 25 games. Can he be someone to try and help PSV get a cushion on this slender 1-goal lead? There's a chance now. As they look to try and send it towards the goal, unable to do that. It was the number 8 for Excelsior, Yrgoyen. He tried to deliver a ball, but instead he delivered it straight into the goalkeeper's gloves. Here is the goalkeeper in Matej Kovar. Another long ball down towards this right-hand side for Excelsior. It's a cut-out pass from Flamingo. Here's Mauro Jr. Now Veerman. Back towards Dest, who's just playing a bit more narrow at times in this second half. Dest again. Back to their centre-half in Flamingo. Now Obispo. Collecting the ball and looking to try and maybe send it long. Obispo back to the goalkeeper. Another long ball once again. Stretching play down the middle. But they win the second ball, Excelsior, and here's their number 17, Martins. See another substitute ready to go for Excelsior. Will be the number 30, Alireza Jahanbakhsh. Here they are, the 2 defenders for Excelsior, just passing it between themselves. PSV just trying to man-mark at times as they all have their individual player to press. That's a poor back pass from Yrgoyen, who's looked tidy throughout the game when he's gone on the ball. Always had some good ball control. And has an eye for a pass as well. But in this occasion, he didn't have an eye for a pass that time. So the player to come off is Hartiez. So Alireza Jahanbakhsh coming on. Of course, played for Feyenoord in the Dutch first tier. Here's a chance now from the throw-in, in towards the penalty area. Pepe trying to sort out his feet as he fires it just over. Just shuffled it onto his right foot, and then when he pulled the trigger, it was rising. But that was a lovely turn from Boamdi. At his back to goal, and the way he just turned 180 degrees to then find himself running at goal was too quick for Excelsior. And here he is again on the ball, but couldn't keep control as he had about 3 players on him, and perhaps Excelsior are starting to realise that they need to double or triple mark him to keep him out the game. But so far he's showing to be a real talent. Matej Kovar with the clearance. Excelsior regain the ball with their centre-half. Midway into their own defensive half, and it's currently the other centre-back in Plug. Now the goalkeeper again. Got Boamdi closing in, but still finds time to play it out towards Ugoyan. Here's Jahanbakhsh. His first touch almost looked to be one that gave the ball away, but he kept the ball and glided over towards that left-hand side to feed it towards Janssen. There's a turn from Toure, but he just turns it, tries to get around Dest, which, although Toure's got plenty of pace himself, it'll always be hard to beat Sergino Dest for pace. And Dest also had the strength there as well to just shield Toure away from the ball so that they have the throw-in, which they've taken now. It's still with their defenders in Flamingo. Now Obispo. Dest collects the ball over on that right-hand side, slowly collects it and just walks forward with the ball. A little 1-2 between him and Veerman, as Veerman then goes and runs forward down that right half space to just try and drag an Excelsior player out the way. Didn't do a job of that there, but they have a chance to do a job down this left-hand side. Boamdi with a poor pass. He looked to try and play that reverse pass, hoping Pepe would be making that diagonal run down the left from a central position. But instead, he just plays it back to Excelsior. However, PSV win it back just towards the halfway line, but every outfield player is in the attacking half for PSV right now. They're just shifted back to their defensive half. That's a nice touch from Seno. Fizzes one in towards Mauro Jr. Seno carrying on his run, picks up the ball in the penalty area. Can he score this time? And once again, it's an outstretched leg from the goalkeeper to deny Seno a replica chance from what we saw earlier on in the half after Seno came on. And the goalkeeper read it well once again. Seno will be frustrated as he had a second time to beat the goalkeeper. And it was the same result as the first one. Another good save from the leg of Stijn van Gijsel. PSV still with the ball in their attacking half. Back out towards Dest. Just has to shuffle back a bit to adjust his body to get the ball. PSV almost had a chance to win that loose ball back, but the defender for Excelsior just cleared it back to the goalkeeper, who will then bring another ball forwards up towards the attack for Excelsior. I think he was trying to aim for the Jahanbakhsh, but instead it was just Obispo that won it back. And now he plays it back to the goalkeeper as Jahanbakhsh carries on his run towards Kovar, who plays a ball down the middle towards Seno, just 25 or so yards in front of him. Back towards Kovar. Seno dropping in towards the penalty area to then spray a ball back out towards Flamingo on that far right side. Nice flick there, allowing the run of Veerman to come forward. It's a clearance from Plug, which goes out of play, so it will be another throw-in for PSV, this time in their own half still. Here's Flamingo. Back over towards Seno. Now Flamingo again. He's just playing very wide in this second half at times, especially when they're on the ball. Of course, they like to have that central midfielder that drops deep. Originally, it was Veerman who played that role, but since Seno's come on, he's been the anchor in that midfield. But Veerman's on the ball again with Seno just around him, and that pass from Veerman isn't one of quality as Excelsior win it back just in the centre circle. Just then you can see the number 3, Meissen, just having to kind of lower his sense of gravity to try and keep the ball, but he gives it away, and Boamdi drives forward as he's got Pepe on the outside, but he goes alone. Boamdi's strike, though, is taken the sting out of by the defender for Excelsior, which then just sees the ball bobble on the ground and collected by a very happy goalkeeper. But Boamdi should have been unselfish there and played the pass to Pepe, who would have had a one-on-one, albeit a bit of an angle to work with. He's already scored once this evening. So 79 minutes on the clock here in Rotterdam. Excelsior got it to 1 apiece in the second half, and then 2 minutes later, Ricardo Pepi tapped home a lovely Dest delivery to regain their 1-goal lead. But here's a chance to make it 2-2, and it's a lovely flick finish. Well, I say lovely, it didn't hit the back of the net, so it can't be that brilliant. But it was a nice idea, and that was a much better delivery from Janssen. It was lower this time from the left-hand side, and it was Groen who stretched out his leg to try and tap it home. but it was wide in the end as he looked to try and touch it towards that side netting. He was in a central position just inside the 6-yard box. That's the end of the action, though, for Simon Janssen. So his last touch was that delivery, and Van Vianen comes off as well. Coming on, though, is Mario Dominguez, of course, the 22-year-old who's on loan from Valencia. So that's a big occasion for him. And the other player that comes on is, of course, the Swede, Finney, the midfielder. So Finney replaces Van Vianen. And, of course, Dominguez comes on to maybe play down the left or to play down the middle. Depends what the head coach sees in him, not the goalkeeper. 10 minutes to go. The referee just counting down this PSV attack. Or goal kick even. They're just wanting to ensure everything's okay. PSV just playing it back. Long ball played from the goalkeeper. As the referee was counting down his whistle to essentially say, hurry up or you're going to get booked. Boamdi just stretching out his leg to pass the ball back to Mauro Jr. Nice link-up play in the middle of the park between Seno and Veerman. Over towards that right-hand side as Gus tries to get himself in some room. Gus Till back on the ball. This could be a great chance, a great chipped effort, but it can't find the back of the net as it's cleared away. And Gus Till kicks a water bottle around the goal mouth in frustration. In fact, it was Mann, the Romanian, who came on. He looked to lob it beyond the goalkeeper, and from my angle, it looked like it was the defender that was the reason why it didn't hit the back of the net. He did swing it at the defender in Nolan Martins, but it was going wide anyway, which is why I think he was even more frustrated at his ill attempt at finding the back of the goal. Goal kick is central and it's long, and it's PSV that get the first touch from it, but then it's passed back from the number 8, Ugoyan, to the goalkeeper. Another long ball down towards this right-hand side. You feel like this is going to be perhaps their approach in the final 8+ minutes here in Rotterdam. It hasn't really been successful so far. Boamdi now in his own half plays it forward to Pepe. He's got no support as PSV have just had to really go defensive there. But they play it back and now they're just enjoying the ball as Mauro Jr. plays it back to Kovar, who doesn't really have anyone around him. Another central pass in towards Seno, who just continues his run after he sends it over towards Flamingo. Back to Kovar. Now Veerman popping up in that anchor number 6 position. Flamingo down on that right-hand side. Picked up in the right half space by Mann. Tries to thread in a ball just a few yards in front of the runner of Ricardo Pepi. And the goalkeeper, Van Goosel, has the ball back in his grasp once again. .82.5 minutes to go. Flamingo with the header away from that clearance from the goalkeeper for Excelsior. Here is Mauro Jr. coming up in the midfield, poking it over towards that right-hand side. Here they are again. Outstretched leg from Des to try and keep the ball, but he's just getting pushed there from Finney. And the referee is now going to signal for the other substitution. And on comes the number 21 for PSV in Minions. And he replaces Ricardo Pepi. So the potential match winner is coming off for, of course, someone who's supposedly a midfielder, Sven Minions. Of course, a new signing from AZ Alkmaar. 11 goals for the team that currently sit top of the Dutch league last season. So a real statement signing that to nick a player off another top side in Holland and then to have him ply his trade for your team. Of course, they did need to replace someone like Ismail Saibari after his move to Bayern Munich, and someone like Minions was perhaps a player on their radar already. Here's Boamdi. Now down this left-hand side, trying to thread a pass into the box with his right boot. It comes off an Excelsior player, so it will be a corner kick on this near side once again. Boamdi just staying close towards the corner flag. Perhaps may provide a short option. As the players are slowly going into the box. No need to rush for PSV, which will only frustrate Excelsior. Currently got a match-up of Finney, one of the PSV players, which is a big match-up given the stature of Finney. The corner doesn't amount to anything. It does end up finding itself to Dest just outside the area, who looks to try and sprint down the right-hand side. He's brought down, and the referee blows his whistle, and PSV have a free kick. It was Jahambach who fouled the American. And of course, after that corner, it was another one of those deep corners from PSV. They tried heading it across the box again, but it couldn't find a PSV player then. And then when it was cleared away, Dest picked it up midway into his attacking half, tried driving forward, and he's so good at using his low centre of gravity as well. And Jahambach just kicked a bit too much out of him. Dest went down, and PSV have a chance now to make this set piece count and to surely seal the win as we have 5 minutes to go. It's laid off, it's struck at goal, and it comes off another player. A deflection causes the corner, and it was Minions who fired it goalwards, but it will be a corner kick once again. So Excelsior having to get used to defending their box from this position as we go into the final 4 minutes of the 90. The referee just having words with Boamdi. He's got 2 Excelsior players around him, including the goalkeeper as well, making it 3. The tall frame of Finey up against Man. Another in-swinger towards that back post. It's headed across, but once again just doesn't find a PSV player, and instead it falls to an Excelsior one who clears it away urgently. Kovar outside of his box, midway into his own half alone, and he clears it forward over towards that right-hand side. PSV unable to keep it down. Excelsior on the ball, but it was just a brief foul committed there from Veerman, which means Excelsior have a chance to play with the ball once again. In the centre circle, over towards Meissen. Here is Meissen, back to his centre-half colleague in Plug. A long ball over towards this right-hand side, taken down from Jahambach, straight into the box. He had one goal, and that was to fire it into the danger zone, hoping that one of the attackers would get a flick on it to send it into the back of the net, but it was straight into Kovar's gloves there as he came down towards his near post to deny that delivery. The player he is aiming for was the 27, Groen. And Kovar sends a ball long as he drop kicks it up to the other end of the field. Here's a chance, just needs to sort out their footing as Minions had the ball come towards him in the penalty area, but he never actually received it as Excelsior managed to intercept the pass. In a fairly exciting end here, Veerman over towards that right-hand side, but Excelsior win it back and then play again. Here they go again, running down the wing, bringing it infield. Finey picks it up. Such a tall, slender figure. Doesn't have much on him, but certainly has a lot of height as they look to try and perhaps use that height to advantage. A ball played in towards a penalty area towards the Swedish Finey. But it's just beyond him, and he couldn't reach it. So 90 seconds left of the 90. And time will tell if PSV are able to see this through. So Sildilia comes on for PSV, replacing Sergino Dest, who got his first assist of the season. And a very good performance from him. Always a troublemaker down that right-hand side. And he's potentially set up the winner. Of course, last year he only got 5 assists, but his best season in the Dutch top flight from an assist point of view was when he just signed from Barcelona after a year at AC Milan in 2023-24. He only managed 6 assists that season, but you just feel like when you see a player with that quality that they can really hit double figures. So time being spent as Sildilia will come on. making way for Sergino Dest. They're just taking their time here as they're passing it round. Obispo once again just trying to work it through, but instead he plays it back to his colleague. Unable to make anything happen right now as Obispo sends it over towards Sildilia as he has his first touch of the game. Just trying to weave it into midfield. Back over towards Mauro Jr. That's a good interception from Excelsior, who managed to win it back as Excelsior tried to come down the line. Can they make something happen now? They're looking promising, but it's just cut out. More good defending there from PSV, and that's what PSV have done this game. Of course, they did have a chance, Excelsior, when they made it one apiece, but realistically PSV have just been a cut above. They've just had the better quality, and you can't really blame Excelsior at all. They are the underdogs in this game, and Boamdi has a chance now as he slides in on Martins. Can he get a chance? Chopping and changing, and a great block once again. You can't deny that Excelsior have certainly defended heroically in this game, albeit they've conceded 2 goals. Their blocks for a lot of the PSV chances have certainly been commendable, especially the goalkeeper. It could have been more for PSV at times. They've certainly had better chances, and they've had the better share of chances. Here's a chance now from the left-hand side following the corner. It was a short one as Mauro Jr. whipped it in. Touchdown, striked, and the goalkeeper makes a save, and is near post with his leg again. Never seen a goalkeeper make more saves in a game with his legs than his arms or his hands. And he certainly put in a good performance. It was a good strike, a firm strike low into the bottom corner. 5 minutes added on. We're 2 minutes into the added 5. Playing a bit of head tennis now, PSV just outside their attacking penalty area, but Excelsior win it back. Now it's cleared forward outside the area for Plug to try and find someone in black and red up the field. But it's a loose touch, and it's straight back to Matej Kovar. Kovar picks up the ball. Can't really do much with it right now. But Excelsior, valiant. Certainly the toughest position, or toughest opponent they've had, and will have for some time this season, you'd imagine, given the success of PSV in this competition over the last 3 years. Of course, PSV will be happy with their resolute and organised, robust display here in Rotterdam. Of course, next week, PSV are back at home against Groningen. Of course, they await their Champions League group stage game, or group stage, not group stage, the UEFA, the European competition. Of course, the European elite competition, they await their league phase. So just over a minute and a half to go. PSV winning the ball back, although it was fairly scrappy from Excelsior. They play it over towards their right-hand side, PSV, just in line with the halfway line. Here's Flamingo. Back to the goalkeeper, sending another ball forward. Was Kovar. Jambach looking to try and curl in a ball. Unable to find his attacker in the number 9. In Marco Dominguez, who hasn't had much luck in this game, hasn't really been able to have the ball fed to him. I suppose PSV have been so dominant with the ball, and they haven't really allowed Excelsior to try and carve open many opportunities. Of course, when Excelsior have had the ball wide, they often like to whip it in the box quickly to try and catch PSV off guard and make the most of a quick chance. But it's fair to say Excelsior haven't really shown the patient way of playing. But I suppose when you're up against an outfit like PSV, it's probably not quite as feasible. 30 seconds left of the match. PSV 30 seconds away from getting their first win in the Dutch top flight this season. And it looks to be that they're putting their 2-2 draw against Sittard to bed. But there could still be 20 seconds for that 2-2 draw to be replicated this evening. But it's looking increasingly unlikely. Any moment now, the referee will surely blow his whistle. Veerman gets a touch. It's back to Mauro Jr. Mauro Jr. looks to just chip the ball forward right in front of his dugout. It comes off one of the Excelsior players. It's about to be a throw, but the full-time whistle has been blown. An exciting game to wrap it up. Of course, PSV took the lead just within 5 minutes from Ruben van Bommel. They went into the break 1-0, and then Excelsior came out with a header from their captain, who's back in the side, Casper Weidel, who nodded home. A lovely delivery from their number 8. But 2 minutes later, pain struck them once again from PSV. It was Ricardo Pepi who tapped home Dest's brilliant ball into the box. And that was that. PSV end it here winners. They're back to winning ways in this season's top flight of Dutch football. Excelsior get their first defeat after a brilliant 4-0 win last weekend, but they can hold their head up high as they've only just lost by one slender goal to the 3-time Dutch champions. Thank you for joining me, everyone. You've been joined with me, Ollie Ordis, here in Rotterdam. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. It ends here. Excelsior 1, PSV 2.